In this tutorial, I will show you how to control modules in the GUI. I already have the blue dev board and one module connected already. I'm going to power on an additional module and set it up in our GUI. So I'm powering on this module, and now we have two modules connected. So let's go ahead and set up our first module. So 4P is configured with a blue LED, ground, green LED, and temperature. And this other module, 23A, is configured with pin 1 ground, pin 2 heater, pin 3 temperature, and pin 4 temperature. So let's start by taking a look at the sidebar on the left. Over here we have this visibility button which will hide or show the modules in their graphs. So let's go ahead and hide module 23, and we can click on the button again to show it. Next is the module name, where you've got the module number and then the letter is their type. There are two types of modules. One is a PWM and the other is analog. PWM modules use pulse width modulation to change the intensity of their voltage output. So while it only outputs 3.3 volts, you can change the duty cycle of that output. The analog modules allow you to output a range from 0 to 3.3 volts, and this applies that voltage directly to the pin. If you hover over a module name, you can see the COM port that the dev board is connected to that is talking to this module. Up next, we've got the Bluetooth status symbol. So when it's connected, it shows up like this, and when a module is disconnected, such as this one where I'm going to power it off, the Bluetooth icon changes and the module controller and the module graph turn red. So I'm going to power this one back on, and it reconnects. This next button stops all the pins on the module. So on module 4P, we're just going to go ahead and start all the pins. Get everything pulsing, get the temperature measuring. So we can go back over to the sidebar, click on the stop everything, and all the pins stop. This next button is a sync pin, or sync allows us to synchronize two modules. So I select the modules I want to be synchronized, so I'll select the current modules. And now, any action I do on one module will be performed on the other module as well. So for example, if I start temperature measurement on pin 4, it'll also start whatever is on pin 4 of the other module. In this case, it will also start temperature. So I clicked it, and now I've got synchronized temperature measurement. Additionally, I can stop, and both the pins will stop. I'm going to go ahead and unsync these modules. And the last one is to remove a module. Let's say the module is disconnected, you don't want it to appear in the GUI anymore, you can remove it. Once a module sends another message back to the GUI, it'll reappear, such as when you power it back on. Moving on to the module controllers, we've got the module name, and then the module Bluetooth status, the module battery percentage, which if you hover over gives more detailed information, so more accurate percentage and the actual voltage the battery is reading. We have a reset button, which resets all of the pins on the module, another button that stops all of the pins, and we can also load and save module configs here. So I'm going to go ahead and on module 23, I'm going to save the config as a JSON file. I'm going to reset the module, and I can go ahead and open up this config that we just saved. Now all the pins are set back to where they were. If you have two modules of the same type and same pin configuration, you can use the same saved config file. So for example, if I had another module configured with ground, heater, temperature as the pins, and it was also an analog module, so say module name 22.A, I could then load the same config file for that module as well. On the graph, We can export the data for a module, and we can also clear it. Let's go ahead and export the data for module 4p. So you select the folder you want to save it into. You get a success message. And if we take a look at what gets exported, we end up getting this folder which contains multiple files in it, which contains the battery percentage, the different data for each of the pins, and a JSON file that contains all of the module's recorded data. In the next tutorial, we'll get into controlling all of these pins.